The tactics you use for secular women versus the kind of riz that you use for godly women is very different.
You guys, I really don't like that strategy.
What are some reasons that people are having trouble getting married?
They have told me they absolutely love it when a guy just takes initiative.
Sure, the man leads, but you can't expect him to do all the movement.
You're trending towards marrying the FedEx person because that's the only person who's going to come to your door.
The devil hates marriage. He doesn't want you to get married.
Ladies, if you're going to remember one thing that I say in this podcast, remember these 3 words.
How can women allow men to lead? Should men and women hang out one-on-one just as friends? Why does this professional matchmaker hate coffee dates for a first date? And what controversial advice is there to help people who tend to overanalyze dating? Welcome back to the Lila Rose Show. Today we're sitting down for our second dating panel. This is to help all of you singles and all of you people who love your singles with Franco from Franco TV, Alessandra with Matchmaking in the City, Ryan from The Exorcist Files, and a new special guest, Caitlin. Here at the show, we are very interested in thriving relationships and families. And of course, dating is a major part of that. A big shout out to my friends over at Sacred Spark who are actually creating something beautiful to help people meet each other. If you want to join us on this mission at the show, please ensure that you've hit the like button, leave us a like and a comment, and join us over at patreon.com/Lila Rose Show for bonus content, ad-free episodes, and access to upcoming guests. Also, the merch. You guys, I'm so excited about this merch. This is new. We've never done merch on the show before, and we've been working on this for months, and we finally landed on some beautiful designs and styles. This is the sweater. It's perfect for Christmas. It's perfect for winter. It's perfect for a gift for your bestie or for yourself. Go check it out at shop.lilaroseshow.com, and I hope you enjoy. If you are a paid Patreon supporter of the show and our mission here, you also get a full 25% off your order. Go check it out at shop.lilaroseshow.com. I'm so glad you all are here. Thank you for coming back. And I'm very excited. We've got another guest that hasn't joined yet. One of my favorite people. So we're talking about dating and relationships. The devil doesn't want you to get married with caveats, which Ryan will weigh in on shortly. But first, let's hear from everybody your name, relationship status, and your generation.
My name is Franco. I am single. And what was the other question?
I said your generation. You can give your
I'm
age.
Gen Z. And I do a lot of social media type work. So I do Catholic content creation with my own channel. And of course, I help out with other beloved Catholics, such as Lila.
Thank you, Franco.
What's your channel called?
The Franco TV.
Franco TV. All right. Let's put that in the show notes.
Thank you, bro. I love that.
Just a little plug there. All right. My name's Ryan Bethay. Longtime listener, third time attendee on the Lila Rose Show. I am a podcast host. I've been called the second best podcast in the Catholic Church since Lila Rose, despite being a Protestant hosting it. So maybe that's why. No, I am what the Greek word stands for is millennial, which translates to older than Gen Z. And so I am but although I will say this, I recently saw an ad and AARP, which does all the retirement plan stuff, they have campaigns for what are called geriatric millennials.
Oh, no.
And I thought whoever is doing that needs to cease that branding immediately.
What does that mean?
It means a certain, on their spectrum, right? We learned that Gen Z earlier was 13 to 30. Is that what we found out?
I think so, yeah.
20.
Yeah. So you're like an old Gen
I feel
Z.
kind of unk right now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Right. So with millennials, it's the same thing. There's a spectrum. But apparently, if you are on the older spectrum of millennial, they have a term called geriatric millennial. So several angry emails later to AARP, I'll be dealing with them. No, so I am unmarried and dating, and it's been an awesome experience.
And so relationship status, would you call it single or would you call it in a relationship?
No, I'm single and just dating.
Excellent.
Oh,
Alessandra.
Lila, it's so great to be here. So I'm Alessandra Conti. I am a matchmaker based in Beverly Hills. I've been a matchmaker now for 13 years, which is just wild to everybody. I also, even though it's so hard to believe because I look so youthful, I too am a millennial, I know it's shocking to see. No, I'm totally joking.
You do look youthful. So
no, I know.
okay.
That's so sweet. I don't know. I feel like I give.
Franco's like, everyone looks young
I'm
too.
taking it seriously.
Wait, that's so sweet. Thank you so much, Franco. No, but yes, I'm in a beautiful relationship. So happily relationshiped. However, I am working with single men and women every single day. I'm very much on the front lines. I hear it all. And I remember vividly my single season. So I'm always happy to, go back to that place. But yeah, happy to be here.
And I'm Kaylin, and I am in a relationship, and I'm a millennial, and I have the pleasure of working with Lila at Live Action.
Yay.
Yay. We
Thanks,
love live
Kaylin.
action.
Yay,
Love
we
live
love live
action.
action. Thank you for joining, Kaylin. Okay, so there's so much to talk about, and there was a pre-call done where there were some heated debates that happened, which we're going to get into those as well. Franco had a really great idea, so we're going to go with Franco's idea, which was, what are some reasons that people are having trouble getting married? What are the impediments that people have to marriage? And you can use your personal experiences, because I think I'm the only married person here.
Mm.
No virtue of my own. No virtue of my own, actually. My thanks be to God for my husband. But what are some reasons that you guys, in your experience, are impediments to marriage today?
Ladies first.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with the dating apps, they've been such a blessing, but also quite a curse as well, because there's the paradox of choice and there are just so many options. But then when it comes down to it, if when single people are actually using the dating apps, they get burned out. They get burned out on dating. They also are just swiping with next best thing, next best thing, next best thing. And a lot of times the feedback that I get from men and from women are very different. So for women, I get that they're bombarded with messages. They are just bombarded. They're bombarded with matches. They're bombarded with messages. And women kind of all across the board, not just the most beautiful women that you've ever seen, just kind of, not that physical beauty is the only thing, but I think on the dating apps, it plays a large role, you would think, but all kinds of women are just being bombarded with messages and likes and all of that. Whereas for men are getting so few matches. I think that there was a statistic that said for every 200 swipes, there's one match or there's one message. And then out of that, for it to actually go into an actual date. And I think people stay on the apps and then they don't actually meet in person. And then I also think that because of the dating apps, a lot of men and a lot of women, it's not that they're getting lazy. It's just that when they're meeting people in person, they're not approaching them. Like, men are not approaching women in person. There are a few men that are approaching women in person, but those are the guys that are the charismatic guys that they're approaching all of the women in person. But the nice, good guys, a lot of them are saying like, oh my gosh, I don't want to, upset her, or I don't want to, get rejected. So when back in the day, that was the only way. Like, men had to approach women in person. They had to go to events. They had to be in the community. But now a lot of them are relying on the apps, and then they're not getting a lot of matches. So there's this really big imbalance. So I think, yes, the meeting of people is really big, and also the paradox of choice, and just people that are AD dating and think there's always going to be somebody better. And also the enemy. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but the enemy is very prevalent in temptation. So I think with a lot of men, they're struggling with porn. They're struggling with even looking at just scantily clad Instagram women. And that's really perverting their brains, and it's making infidelity a lot easier. Like, there's a lot, I could go on for hours. But those are the first points that I'll make. Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that like so much. I think, and not that the devil is responsible for every shortcoming that we experience, but I do strongly believe that the reason why a lot of people just haven't found the one is because a lot of people are not seeking to aim for living like the incarnation of goodness itself, which is Jesus Christ. But I want to make this clear that I've been seeing a very huge correlation within my active seeking to grow in virtue through God, of course, who's the source of virtue, and finding you know, people that are worthy of being married. I'm not saying that people that I'm perfect or that they're perfect. I mean, in fact, like I think, you know, I've been pretty objective about saying like, okay, they have things they need to work on. I have things I need to work on. But I really do think that it does come down to, are you seeking to imitate the incarnation of goodness himself?
Ryan, what do you think?
Those are all, I actually agree with everything that's been said so far. But I think one thing that's really important when you try and extrapolate lessons about this, you know, one, it's so different for everybody. I mean, I love asking people how they met, what their love story is, et cetera. We talked about how you met your husband on the last one. And are there trends? Of course. Are there different ebbs and flows for how people meet? Yes. And it's done differently all over the world too, right? And so it's a challenge because I think we always, especially me as like an entrepreneur who like likes to build businesses, like, all right, what's the replicable system and how do we copy that and do it? And obviously, and if you're a person of faith and you believe that God is somehow involved in a mysterious way in your life, guiding a enormously important decision, then it can be really difficult because like I know people who prayed and was like, you know, nothing happened. And then one day they were at a grocery store and they bumped into someone and it was like amazing. And it happened. It was their person. I also know people that went out there and went on the apps and like said, hey, set me up with everyone and put themselves out there. And they met people as well. So I just think we had to be careful not to try and paint with too broad of strokes because marriage, it's, you know, the Bible in particular, I always marvel at how little it has to say relative to how big of a decision getting married is, right? We have verse and chapter in the Song of Solomon on like romance. We have some proverbs at the tail end of like how to pick, make sure she's good with flax, right? And real estate.
Essential.
You know, essential. She's her light is always on at night. She's working all night.
All night.
And you're like, okay, but for something that we make such an enormous deal about, and it's like, wow, there's really not many guys. We had a couple stories of like, you know, hire someone to go out and, you know, take your servant to where the camels are watered. But am I supposed to extrapolate Isaac's story?
You need the book of Tobit.
Yeah. Well, see, and
There
there are books missing from my
book.
Bible, apparently.
but that one has some good relationship stuff.
But
in
it's
there.
hard. But I would say, the big thing is for me personally, I think consumerism is a huge deal because today the narrative is that for all of us is that we are the center of the universe. And I don't think it's surprising that, and I'm just preaching to myself here, that like it's a mentality of like, all right, actually I was at a conference last year and I had two of my female friends and they were like, hey, like, so we're going to set you up with this girl, but like, you know, what are you looking for? So I was like, well, what are you looking for in someone? Right. Which again, not a bad thing. Right. And then a friend of mine comes up like in between, interrupts and goes, hey, at the time I didn't know her that well. And she goes, change the question. Like, what do you bring to the table? How can you serve? What would you get excited about serving in a relationship? And I thought, wow, you don't even know me. That's very blunt. But she's like, no, she's like, if you are just all about getting fulfillment from, you know, your own personal desires, like those fade, those change, but like, what are you excited and how you can serve someone? And so that actually really changed a lot of my framework on this. And I started talking to God more about this and saying, okay, what do I need to do? And how can I like partner with you, God, to go find someone that I can then like do a mission with together, like that I can like build like legacy as opposed to just someone to fulfill my time, to make me happy. And I think that's a huge issue we had. I was with someone recently who's a marriage therapist, and he did his doctoral thesis on just the history of marriage and how like what it meant thousands of years. Like it was a survival, it was a partnership, right? You got married, like, you know, and this idea of like, oh, I really need to be fulfilled in all these ways and they need to be X, Y, and Z. And I'm not saying that's bad, right? I would love, right, preference is great, but he's like, you did not have that luxury. And today we are, as you said, you know, so well, like we are surrounded with this cornucopia of just options. And for me, it's been paralyzed. And so I've actually, in a really cool season since our last dating panel, I can chart my year based on how many dating panels I've been on for Lila. So one panel ago,
one of these panels is going to be like, I'm engaged.
I read this
One
book
day.
and we'll get into it later, but there's a kind of quiz or like this index, you know, where you just kind of ask yourself these questions. And I'm like, man, in my business, I travel all the time. I go meet people. Like career's been a huge hindrance, I think, because I've been putting so much stock in my personal, which I'm a guy. I love working. It's amazing, but like, I'm realizing I have some major life imbalances that have been issues. And I'm like, okay, that's been a big deal. But this quiz you kind of take, and at the end it goes, like, how often are you going to like meet new people? How is your life basically, are you having dinners and lunches with the same people, working all the time? And then when you relax, are you just hanging out with your family or just on the weekends, like the same thing? Mm-hmm. And he goes, where else in life would you just do the same thing over and over again and expect any different result? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the quiz, like if you basically score this, like you're trending towards marrying the FedEx person because that's the only person who's going to come to your door, Amazon, whatever. And I thought, okay, I need to shake some things up. And so for me, I actually kind of had a big personal revelation. Like, okay, I need to start. I believe God can do anything. I believe God can God could arrange that way. But I'm like, you know what? Everything else in life is just better when you get out there and start making moves and say, God, would you guide me? And then let's see what happens. And so in the course of that, I've just met some incredible people, put myself out there more and just said, hey, you asked, we talked a little bit earlier about like how people meet people. And I'm like, I just said people I love and respect. Hey, if you know someone, right, you know me. And so I trust you. If you say, go get to know someone, grab a coffee, grab a meal, I just trust you. And so I've been doing that and just had an open posture and it's been amazing. I think once you kind of make that decision internally and then take steps to do that, it has been a really rewarding experience so far. So I feel like I was just kind of, in short, I was sitting at home in one sense, like, oh yeah, God will just bring it. And I'm like, that could happen, but it generally doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Figuring out the right daily nutrition can feel overwhelming, but one thing that I consistently rely on are the supplements from WeHeartNutrition.com. I'm a huge fan of We Heart Nutrition. It is a pro-life, family-owned business that donates 10% of every purchase to pro-life causes. We Heart Nutrition makes premium research-backed supplements here in the USA for men and women at every stage of life in the supplement's most bioavailable form for maximum absorption and digestion, from preconception to pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, and more. I personally take the postnatal supplements and have been taking them since I gave birth to our last baby, and it has helped me feel healthier than ever after my last pregnancy. You can take We Heart Nutrition's 2-minute quiz to figure out which supplements can best benefit your state of life at WeHeartNutrition.com and use the code Lila for 20% off your order. That's WeHeartNutrition.com and use the code Lila for a full 20% off your order. It's no secret today that pornography use is rampant, and often men and women feel like they are stuck in a habit of use. Covenant Eyes is the #1 tool for overcoming pornography use and has been empowering millions of people to live porn-free for over 25 years. Not only does Covenant Eyes software completely remove adult content from your devices, but it also fills that void with a community of accountability partners to walk with you on your journey. So if you are a man or a woman looking for help in the fight against pornography, or you have a loved one, you can go to covenanteyes.com and use the code Lila for 1 free month trial. That's covenanteyes.com. Use the code Lila. Join the movement to be free of porn for good. So here's a question. What's the posture that you think women should have and men should have, if differently, a different posture when it comes to putting yourself out there, being findable, looking for that other person? Obviously, we're all talking about this from a perspective of faith, that God is the one who is in charge and God is our Father. He loves us. He has a plan. Satan has no power compared to God, but he uses our free will, right? What is the role? Are there specific roles of men and women, especially in the early stages of dating? Because certainly in marriage, there's roles. We're not really talking about that yet. But what are the roles of men and women in dating and how are they different is the question.
So women should chase? No.
Women should chase?
Again,
I'm sort of joking.
It is again.
Franco wants to be chased, it sounds like.
Yeah, no, Franco
All right.
does. That's why there's only been
He said
2
he was
girls in
single,
his story.
ladies.
So
Well, very
We're going to get
selective.
DMs. You're going to get DMs after this, Franco.
No.
No.
Not a just random person.
On the chase, I know, Ryan, you're going in a second. There's an amazing book, Men Chase, Women Choose, by, oh my goodness, what is her name? Just look it up, Men Chase, Women Choose. And it's all about psychology and science and Dr. Don Maesler. Dr. Don Maesler. Oh, phenomenal book. Phenomenal book. Sorry, Ryan, go for it.
Click,
But just to follow up, what does it mean, according to this Dr. Don, what's his name?
Dr. Don Maesler.
Dr. Don
She's
Maesler.
She's a woman.
What does,
yeah.
It's a woman, Lila.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
it's a woman. She's a she, her. She's a Lila.
Sorry, guys. Okay. So wait, what does it mean? Can you define what choosing looks like versus chasing?
Yes,
How are
but
they
I
different?
feel like Ryan should go first because he's
you
ready.
already took it. You go.
See, she chose for me to go pursue. That's the backwards, right? That's how it worked. I was chosen to go first and pursue. No, again, I'll always come back to because I've now, because it's my favorite question to ask almost all my married friends, or whenever I meet someone, it's like, how did you meet your spouse, if they have one? And it is just, are there some trends I've seen? Absolutely. But generally, it's also wildly different for everyone. And, so for me personally, I like to pursue. right? I like taking action, etc. You know, do I think that's generally how it works better? Put it this way, of all my like female friends, when I've just talked to them about this, assuming we're all like being honest with each other, they have told me they absolutely love it and appreciate when a guy just takes initiative. And I've always wondered like what that is, because everyone's plenty capable. Like we're all capable of making a dinner reservation. Like what is it about a guy who just says, hey, like I'm making plans at 7:00, right? Can you be ready? I've arranged all of it. Like, is that just our cultural construct? Or like, but most of my female friends say, I so deeply appreciate that, right? And again, from a spiritual standpoint, it does seem to me to be like, okay, men seem to be wired. And even if you look at our biology, right? If it's true that testosterone makes us more aggressive and action oriented and we're wired differently, like, yeah, maybe that's it. But on the other hand, I also know people like, obviously we have also a very famous biblical account of a woman stepping up and being like, you know what, I know what I want. And so I would be careful to make any
chapter and verse.
I actually
Ruth.
do. I would love
Can you tell briefly what
into
Ruth
that.
did?
I'll make sure I get my theology, but Ruth basically, well, I wouldn't recommend doing this per se, right? Because she laid at the feet of the person, right? She wanted to get married to Boaz. I'll edit this if I'm
Well,
off.
in those days, it was like if you sleep together, you're married, basically, right?
Well,
That was
she
part
said,
of the, that was part of the custom.
Right, but she was like, I think the point was that she also, I think her mentor, and again, we should totally double check this on the theology, but like her mentor was like, hey, go, was it Naomi told her to do that? I'll go look it up.
Let me ask truthfully.
Ask truthfully.
All right.
Yeah, this is a good sponsor
Truthfully.
integration. But again,
Sacred Spark truthfully.
all that to say, I have had like, in fact, I dated a girl and it started off because we were just friends. And she said, hey, one day she came over and she's like, hey, FYI, I've actually just like, I've tried to kind of send some signals, right? And in the off chance that like, it just wasn't clear. Because I will say as a guy, women sometimes think it's being very clear. And yes, generally speaking, like, if you seem to know, it's like if a human being is interested in you, just period of talking or whatever. But it is possible to be missing each other. It's like, hey, I just think you're really cool, and I would love to my feelings are more than friends, and I'd be totally open if that's something you ever wanted to pursue. And I was like, oh, actually, yeah. I realized, because I've just been kind of friends for a while, but I was like, oh, I was kind of like moved, like, oh yeah, you're really cool. And we ended up dating for a long time. And I was like, so I would say there are exceptions to that, but I generally would be in the camp of I like the idea of the guy pursuing, but to the point you laid out earlier, especially with online dating, it is like, it would be so tough to be a girl. And like, I've had my female friends show me their like Hinge accounts, and I'm like, this is wild. Right. Hundreds of just shirtless guys with dogs.
So really quick, great biblical reference. Thank you, Ryan, about Ruth. The approach to Boaz. So I just asked truthfully, tell me the story. What did Ruth do to find a husband in the Bible? So in the book of Ruth, she's to support herself and Naomi. Ruth's story begins with her decision to stay with Naomi rather than to return to her home people. She's in the field. She's supporting herself. Anyways, it leads her to the fields of Boaz, a relative of Naomi's late husband. Naomi, recognizing the potential for Boaz to be a kinsman redeemer, advises Ruth to seek his protection according to the custom of the Levirate marriage. And then what she does, what you just stated, Ryan, Ruth approaches Boaz at the threshing floor, a place where he rests during the harvest. She lies at his feet, a traditional gesture asking for his protection and indicating her openness to marriage. And then he redeems her as a wife, it says. Ultimately, he takes her as wife. What do you think, Franco?
I definitely agree with what you're saying, that taking the more generally traditional attitude as a man, but at the same time, and I feel like I really feel you on the, hold on, maybe not, don't take it to an absolute extremity. I mean, sure, the man should always be taking leadership, but I do think, and I would like to, I think the best way to describe my position is that it's a dance. You can't, sure, the man leads, but you can't expect him to do all the movement. The woman also has to respond. And what I've seen, it's interesting. I feel like I've seen the opposite with very traditional women and women that just did not grow up in that kind of mindset. Like when you mentioned, maybe sometimes the girl might take initiative. There was a girl that, this is a bit of a flex, but this girl drove like 7 hours to come see me when we weren't even dating. Now, given it's a little bit, it's not super clear it was because of me, but from the chronological form of events that happened, she learned that I was in California back when I was still living in Virginia. I was back in California. visiting, and I was like, yeah, I was just in your area. I'm actually going down to Orange County now. And she's like, what? Like, I literally live around this area. And she was like, I don't know if I have work on Monday. Like, I can't exactly go down to Orange County, but I had some friends invited me. But yeah, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, yeah, no worries. It's God's plan, whatever, right? And like within like a few hours or so, she's like, yeah, I've made some calls. I'm on my way to Orange County tonight. So I'm like, okay, like that's like that like for me, I was like, that was initiative,
But
right?
did that make you like her more or less?
Oh,
Or did it impact how much you
that
liked her?
made me think incredibly highly of her. Now, given there is some context, just so women listening to this don't go out and become reckless. We had gone a date like when we met about a month or so earlier prior, and I did initiate all of that. Like I went up to her, I asked for her number, etc. I asked her out on a date. Like I did initiate all of that, right? But I was very also intentional with her. I was like, hey, like not looking for something long distance right now. And so that was that. And so that was kind of the context. So, and I really wanted to hammer that because you can't just what she did. I feel like is very dangerous if it's like if I was just some guy that just is very worldly and just doesn't care. Like to me, like that meant so much to me. I was like, holy crap! And this was like, so I've seen that kind of like, okay, this is really good. And we did have a pretty healthy relationship. Sure, there were issues, and we did end up breaking up, but that was actually like, I mean, there were a lot of things, a lot of the virtues that she had were some of the virtues that I just wasn't really seeing with some like maybe more traditional kind of women. And not that like, of course, yes, men should chase 100%. But yeah, I do believe that it's a dance and the heart disposition there. Yeah, you should not be a coward to dance. I should
Did you
say.
give her gas money?
Did not give her gas. Later on, when we were dating, I did. Yeah.
I think it's important though you asked her out first.
Yeah.
I think the point is she expressed interest like by just indicating a warmth to you. You were interested, you asked her out.
Yeah.
It didn't go a next step and then she took initiative.
Another thing that I want to make sure that people do know that, by the way, is that this girl, it's not like, this might sound like insane to some people, but like this girl did know exactly like what she was looking for. Like when apparently she told me this later, but when she had got back home from because we were both in a different state when we first met. But when she got back home, she actually had told her mother, she's like, this was like this guy like met like almost all my standards. Like this is, and so she knew what she wanted, right? It wasn't like, oh, I mean, I like this guy.
Franco.
No, there were good virtues that I just happen to have that were with me. Of course. So I mean, yeah, sure. There is uniqueness within the soul there, so I don't want to sell myself short there. But yeah, anyways, that is
What happened, Franco?
Yeah, we grilled her last time on what happened to her guy. What happened to this girl who drove 7 hours?
Well, in short,
14 round trip.
there were some disagreements on a specific virtue that I value a lot, and but I mean, the main thing though, and it was actually her that ended up breaking up with me. She actually realized, thanks, man. She actually realized that, and I think she realized this faster than me, that like there was some goals that they just weren't aligned. I'm the kind of person that tries to really try to make it work no matter what. And that is a good virtue to have in marriage, but this isn't marriage yet. This is dating. And so there's a lot of nuance here, and which is why it's so good to have a spiritual counselor that you're reporting to. And I was not doing that with this girl. Because you can't look at your life objectively if it's just by yourself and maybe like with this person that you're biased towards. Like you have to have a spiritual counselor, which is why I think it is kind of a red flag if somebody does not have a spiritual counselor and they're dating. But anyways, like yeah, different goals, different kind of lifestyle expectations, and later on I realized I'm like, yeah, I did not have the best chemistry with this girl actually. But that being said, like the good virtues there were really great. Yeah.
Kaylin, what do you think in terms of men and women's roles? Is it chase versus choose, or should women dance, put themselves out on the dance floor?
Yeah, it's a great analogy. We don't know. Love that.
I think at the beginning, when you're first meeting someone, I agree that the man is typically the one to pursue the girl and ask her out. And I think most women would agree that's what they want. And I think most men would agree that's how they would want it to go as well in the beginning. Women want to be loved, they want to be seen, and men I believe, want to protect and pursue. And the more that a woman receives that, like you were saying, or responds, Franco, and shows maybe gratitude or just a respect. Thank you so much for taking me out. Thank you for, maybe paying for dinner, whatever it is. That encourages the man then to do it again. And I think it becomes a dance. And the more that you date, it becomes a dance. But of course, it depends on personalities. Everybody, like you were saying earlier, sometimes a personality trait, a woman might be super strong-willed and know what she wants. And I mean, there's variations, but generally speaking, I do think it's a beautiful design for the men to pursue the women.
Were you pursued in your current situation?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And you enjoyed that?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, because a lot of girls say it's like refreshing. I've had my female friends say like, yeah, he was totally clear in what he wanted.
Mhm.
Right. We haven't gotten into the whole texting non-committal, just like where does he stand,
Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
appreciate that's interesting here because I will say some of my female friends have said they secretly also enjoy the ambiguity of like what is happening, right? Because no, it is
That is toxic.
no, it is. It happened. No, I've had like that's. I mean, yeah, I've seen that happen, and I've also seen guys be very like forthcoming, and the girls like, oh wait, this is weird. Like he just said exactly what he wants.
The tactics you use for secular women versus like the kind of riz that you use for godly women is very different.
Tactics and riz. Okay.
Okay,
well,
that's a great topic. So let's go there next. The tactics you use for secular women is different than the tactics for
And the
Christian
riz, then the
Okay.
holy riz.
So first of all,
secular
as
women.
people, I mean, yeah, as people of faith, like we want to marry people who share faith, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Would everyone agree with that? Yes.
Well, it's not just want.
Absolutely.
We're told it's kind of a rule, right?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. It is a
Not just
rule.
it's
So
not
wait,
a preference.
I guess the question is,
It's-
why are you dating secular
I would
women?
like my partner not to go to hell.
What are you spitting riz at secular women for, bro?
Well, maybe,
I used to be very secular before I came to the faith, so I kind of like.
You know how much I love and support EveryLife.com, America's only pro-life diaper company, and also its fastest growing diaper company. Well, now the great team over at EveryLife has officially launched something new. They've created EveryLife Women, a clean, premium feminine care line designed to honor women the way God intended. I've tried these products and they're great. Their pads and tampons are thoughtfully designed with 100% certified organic cotton. EveryLife Women brings uncompromising integrity together with comfort and care that you can count on. No harsh ingredients, no toxins, just products that reflect dignity and the truth of who we are as women. You can try EveryLife's new feminine care brand, EveryLife Women, with my code Lila for 10% off your order. Visit everylife.com/Lila to shop now and use the code Lila at checkout. At my house, we start our mornings with 7 Weeks coffee. And trust me, this is the pro-life coffee that you'll want to be drinking on Christmas morning. Not only is 7 Weeks coffee organic, pesticide-free, mold-free, low acid, and absolutely delicious, it is my personal favorite to drink in the morning. I love the Ethiopia medium roast. My husband loves it too. 7 Weeks coffee also works directly with farmers, making sure they're paid more than 300% the fair trade requirement. So get your delicious gourmet coffee over at 7weekscoffee.com and save 15% forever when you subscribe. And this holiday season, you can claim up to 4 free gifts with your first order. Plus, exclusively for my listeners of this show, use the code Lila for an extra 10% off your first order. That's a 25% total savings on your first order, plus up to 4 free gifts. Just use code Lila at 7weekscoffee.com.
I love the analogy of masculinity is the lines and femininity is the color. So it's like in a coloring book, masculinity is the lines and femininity is the color.
I'm pretty colored.
Yeah, you are. Oh gosh. Oh no. Oh dear. So I love when we look at masculinity and femininity in that way, and then when we can apply that to dating and how that would manifest itself. I love what Franca was saying about the dance. I think that it's so true. And we tell women 3 words. And ladies, if you're going to remember one thing that I say in this podcast, remember these 3 words. Let him lead. Let him lead. Because a lot of women, they're like, oh, well, I can exactly what you were saying, Ryan. They can make the reservation. They know the best restaurant in town. They can do this. And a lot of times, especially with the women that we work with all the time who are very successful, beautiful, smart, they're highly capable. They know their city. They know what they like. They know what they don't like. they're very inclined to, they're like, oh, well, okay, why are we talking so much? Like, are you free Friday? What's going on? Okay, great, 7 p.m. reservation. But then it's not, you have to let the man lead. And you can make so also another quick concept that I love is dropping the handkerchief. And I don't know if you guys have heard this concept before. I'm sure you've heard of it. But it is something that we love to teach the bachelorettes when they're in their single season of dropping your handkerchief. And you got something like, you got a handkerchief thrown at you, like what your friend did, which was lovely. And I think that's also why male-female friendships can be very problematic unless there are very strong boundaries in place. That's a different conversation, 100%, but it's a bold claim, but I will die on that hill.
What's the claim you're going to die on?
But I think male and female friendships are fine with very strong boundaries.
I agree.
With
totally
very strong boundaries. And I don't think
emphasis on the very strong,
strong lines
with
in our coloring book.
Very strong lines. Yeah, for friendship.
I think one way to think about male-female friendships, in my opinion, is if I was married right now, would this friendship be appropriate?
100%.
Because if it's not something that would be appropriate if I was married, then it's not really just a friendship.
You're telling me you can't be on long,
So-
like 3-hour phone calls with a man who's not your husband?
No, 100%. And I
Nope.
think no one-on-ones. I think that's a really great guideline of no one-on-ones with male-female friends. Because, and I think the enemy also does kind of work its way in there, because then a man that is doing all these one-on-ones with these amazing women, where's the room for your wife?
What if it's
Where's your
one-on-one
wife?
pickleball?
It's still inappropriate.
That sounds like a date.
It's
Yeah,
a
the
date.
word sounds like a
That
date.
sounds like a date.
No, there's
Because-
other people
Ryan's like,
waiting to
shoot,
play,
I'm
but
going
it's
on a
just
lot.
one-on-one. We're not playing doubles.
No, but it's still a date. I think it's ruin the friendship, as the great Taylor Swift has a song that says ruin the friendship. There's no sorry, I know it was a little triggering, the Taylor Swift thing for
No,
Christians.
I think that's a great reference. I don't like a lot of the stuff
the
that she
Christians
promotes,
hate
but you know.
Taylor Swift.
Sorry.
I don't.
No.
I am curious, but you said the handkerchief. So what is that
So
exactly?
dropping the handkerchief very quickly.
The handkerchief is just looking at the guy like,
well, no. Oh, bless. I wish it was. I wish it
Drive
was that.
7 hours
All right.
to see him.
Yeah, give me an example of handkerchief, Kaylin.
Yeah, how do you guys drop your handkerchiefs?
Yeah, I think with women dropping the handkerchief, it's just saying some kind of saying something that's like, oh, do you know if you're at the Starbucks and you see a cute guy without a wedding ring and he's wearing a cross, ideally,
Those are the 3 criteria.
yeah. No wedding ring, wearing a cross.
My dream
Amen,
man.
ladies, go drop that handkerchief.
Over 6 foot. Right?
No,
not 5 foot.
No, we don't have but if you're making an unrelated comment and dropping the handkerchief, but then being open to conversation and continuing that conversation, and then before the conversation ends, being like, oh my gosh, you're so sweet. Here, take my number, or here, take my Instagram. Like, you're great. So that's the way that I would tell a woman to drop the handkerchief.
You're saying, is it initiating, or is it like just making a comment saying I'm open to being talked to?
It can be initiating. It can be also saying something that, like, with your friend being like, oh my gosh, like, Ryan, you look, so strong today. Like, what, you just making a flirtatious
No one ever
comment.
says that.
I don't know.
I would be like,
they
what
just-
do you want? What's
Yeah,
wrong?
what?
Like,
Yeah,
how much
what
money
tickets
do
do you
you
need right
want?
now?
They just need to be like, hey, I'm open to being talked to. That's
If you are saying, I'm meeting a man in person, I'm not using the apps, I'm only doing it in person, you are going to be single for a very long time, ladies. I'm sorry, unless you are dropping the handkerchief. And I see this. I see my single, beautiful girlfriends. These are the most beautiful women. We walk in anywhere, they're not approached. And the one guy that does approach them is drunk and, like, elderly, which is fine. I love an elder.
Drunk and elderly?
Yeah, like, they're just, oh gosh.
Ages too.
where do you guys live?
Elderly?
No, I'm thinking
Where
of,
are you
like,
taking
oh,
them?
no.
Are they going out to dinner like
Oh,
5 p.m.?
I know. I'm just thinking of
Are the women that you're going out
Drunken
with, or the women you're referencing in this example, are they all together? Like, it's a circle of 4 women and maybe a man feels
no.
Yeah, are
I've
they in
been
TIE
out-
fighter formation
Like,
and
that's
we can't
different.
assault
Yeah.
the Death Star?
Yeah,
Listen.
like the context, the situation, also their handkerchief. Because like I feel like you can kind of
I thought you
tell.
used a handkerchief. And I was like, oh,
I
that's
feel like you can kind of tell if a woman is like at least interested in like befriending you at
See,
the
but
very
that's
least.
what it is. The women, if they're not showing openness, if they're not dropping, I'm giving a very extreme example of dropping the handkerchief, but you could even, if you bump into a guy, you say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like, "Oh,
Well,
da-da-da."
it's
Like, just
also
something-
true that all those guys were just not interested.
Yeah, well, I understand
just
that.
not that
Well,
into you.
here's another thing, which is that you can, at the end of the day, you can have a lot of different attractions to different people going about your day or whatever. But if you are not a more open personality, right? Because it's also a personality thing. If you're not more like as a personality, like, hey, how are you? Making eye contact, smiling, right? If you're more shy, you're more to yourself, you're going to attract less interest just because you are not open in your visage. But
Yeah.
ultimately,
Smiles show
100%.
openness.
100%.
Smiles show
so
openness.
yeah, but I think it's so people who are more naturally bubbly, sanguine, outgoing personality, it's somehow maybe easier for them to drop the handkerchief. They're doing that regularly. They don't even know they're doing that. And sometimes like men pick up on cues that weren't even a handkerchief, but girls that are maybe more demure naturally, more shy naturally, they need to go out of their way
How
and
did you
do
guys
something
do
that
it?
for them feels more
So
aggressive.
I'm curious, like, so obviously, you know, all three of you dated, you know, you're in a relationship. Like, how did you express, like, or with your husband, like, how did you express interest in saying I'm open? Or was it like, were you just introduced? Or was it like, are there things in the past with other relationships you guys have done? Like, oh yeah, this is how like, how would you let a guy know you're open to being like just pursued or talked to?
She barks at them.
She barks at them. Okay.
Well, with my husband, what happened was I showed up to a dinner that my brother planned that he was going to be at. So already I was open to my husband because I knew he would be there. I'd never met him yet, but he was a friend of my brother's. And then I was, you know, chatty with him and he was handsome. We were talking. And then when we were walking down the street afterwards, he was going to take Bart home, which was the public, or actually, was he going to walk home? I don't remember, but it was in Berkeley and he was a law student at the time. And I was like, oh, I'm happy to give you a ride. No problem. You know, like happy to give you a ride.
That's
And
tough.
then
That
that's
needs to be nice. That's just good courtesy.
Well,
Just
and- but
nice.
it-
No,
and
what are you talking about?
and it was a little nice, but it was also a little bit like, oh, I'll spend more time with him. And then that's when he asked me, I was like, oh, I'd love to, you know, do you
You
ever
like,
like,
lock the doors.
do you
He's
ever like going
"Will
to
you
the
go
opera?
out?"
And he was like very, you know, sweet. And I was like, yeah, sure. I'd love to go to the opera.
Asked you to the opera?
Yeah. And so
Aw.
then,
Dude, that's rude.
So you were like, get in my
gosh.
car, and he's like, I'll ask her to the opera.
yeah.
Okay, that's
yeah.
great.
So I think he was planning to ask me out, but I think it helped that I was clearly at least warm to him, if
Yeah.
not really into him yet.
Whereas you would
So-
be like, hey, get home safe, right? That's
yeah,
about a
bye.
2-mile walk
Nice
that
to
way.
meet you.
Yeah.
I think he would have still shot a shot, even if I had done that. But I think it, you know, facilitated that I was expressing that
Yeah.
interest in him.
What opera did
So,
you see?
What did we see? We
That is not relevant to this discussion.
We saw that opera that's a little
Butterfly.
risque, actually, and it was in San Francisco. What's it called? It starts with an F. What's that opera called? I should
Risque
remember.
opera with an F? I
But
don't know.
it's so sad. It was in San Francisco, and so of course they put some insane thing in.
Nice
But
state.
anyways, yeah, it was fun.
In a LA women's
What
locker
was the
room.
opera? Let me ask. Let me
Okay.
ask.
Well, Kaylin, I want to know
was
what's
a
your
bad
handkerchief strategy?
Yeah, top 5
Yeah.
drop handkerchief type.
I do think that, like Lila was saying, there can be confusion if someone is just a nice person.
Yeah.
Right.
I do know a lot of girlfriends like that. Like they're just so nice, and a guy might approach them and ask them out that they have no interest in, and you know they kindly say, "No, I'm not interested," and they're kind of like, "I don't know why he thought that I was interested." You know, they're just bubbly, they're just nice,
Yeah, that's
so
a good
I do
point.
think that can happen. At the same time, I do think like Lila's example, like almost giving, I don't want to say permission, that's not the right word, but giving that hint that yes, I'm interested, you know, by her offering the ride. But I do think even just if you're not the one to drop the handkerchief and there is a guy that you are interested in, but you don't really make a move, but maybe he's talking to you, I do think smiling and you know, engaging in the conversation, asking questions, that shows interest. Sometimes conversations can be very one-sided, or you can tell when someone's not really.
Has that been your? I'm curious. Has that been your experience? Because like I will say I have gotten it wrong so many times where I thought someone was like interested and they were like asking questions, and then later they're like, yeah, I was really interested in the topic.
Well,
Right.
I will say I sympathize with like a lot of the confusion. But I feel like if a woman, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think
You
if
will.
a woman is like wanting to spend more time with you, is not trying to keep things short, is trying to get more opportunities to see you. And she's like, and you can invite that too. It's not like she has to say that. It's like, you can be like, hey, you down to get on call and talk about this, or like, and she's like not trying to stop you for like whatever reason, but unless it's like, oh, hey, my dad's dying, or like, hey, I have this commitment or whatever, right? Like, but if it's like, but also there is the dance, right? The woman has to be like, oh, but I really want to continue talking or whatever. Oh, but I have to like, there is the hint that that she can also give, like, I'm enjoying company with you. Right. I don't think that's a huge stretch for women to do at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, and I also think that we're talking about out in the wild. Like right now, this conversation is in the wild. And I think it's so different in different, like if you're in your community, so say you're in your Christian community, your Catholic community, your young adult group, whatever. And that's where a lot of men and women are meeting in the wild. I think that there's a huge hesitation for even if a woman is very outgoing, very bubbly, like giving indicators, I think there's a lot more reticence if you're in the same community for a man to then, I mean, not that I know this because we have a lot of women that we work with who are saying like, yeah, like I'm in this young adult group, but no guys are asking me out because then the guy, unless he's 1,000% sure this is my wife, he doesn't want to then get the reputation of being the guy that's dating all these girls. And valid. I mean, it's very valid. I think in the wild, I'm a personal matchmaker. So a huge part of my job is scouting. Like that's basically the best way to put it. It's meeting men. It's meeting single men and meeting single women. We tend to get a lot of single women very organically just because of like housewives, like the things that I've been on. We tend to attract a lot of women in droves. And then we attract a certain type of man. And I love our male clients. They're wonderful. But generally speaking, as women know, you need to, we are out there looking, man hunting. We're on a manhunt. And I have been for 13 years. I've been husband hunting for all these women for 13 years. And I will say, in the wild, like I am a very bubbly, warm, outgoing person. And it really, like my girlfriends, even if I'm just going to an event and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to this event. Like we have a new, Orthodox, Greek Orthodox client. So I'm going to go to this fundraiser, a girlfriend will come with me. And because I'm so warm, bubbly, outgoing, I'm just meeting every person. It is a lot easier. So I definitely would say, I think it's, if you have that natural personality, that's amazing. And if you can find a female friend that has that warm, wonderful, bubbly, outgoing personality, I think that's like what an asset to have. And even being like, okay, we're two single girls tonight. Like, why don't you be the one? Make it a game. Like, okay, we're going to this event. It's, a Catholic fundraiser for XYZ. And how about you just drop the handkerchief to two new people that you've never met before. And it doesn't even have to be guys, because I think this is a skill that has to be learned. Because again, this is in the wild and I don't see it happening as frequently as I would like it to happen.
I think all of this can be summed up with both sexes have to be comfortable with being vulnerable to the other. This can be applied to.
It's beautiful.
DM spike.
The power of vulnerability.
Oh.
Well, I mean, the story of Ruth is that she literally laid down on the threshing field floor in front of Boaz. But what is society? What is our like system today as a society, as a culture in America to date and to? I mean, in a lot of cultures today, to date and to marry. There's no like path for it that's typical. I think that's part of the confusion. Like, there's not arranged marriages anymore.
Yeah.
Or at least
in the West, but there's still tons of arranged marriages like all over the world.
Right.
I would say for like
we don't have
a good rule of thumb, I would say is, and I listened to this from a Father Ripperger video, actually. Not sure how many people have like controversial opinions on him, but I think this is very fair. It was Rules of Courtship. I think it was uploaded by Fides Celium. I forget the name, but I think this Catholic priest recommended like about like 3 to 6 month period of like friendship, then a 3 to 6 month period of courting. And he describes what that means. And then from there, take it forth if this man and women are, should proceed. And I think that's like, obviously this is all very gray, there's not like an explicit, like, this is like, you know, it could be that you, like, for example, like there's a Saint Therese, her parents met and like they got engaged within like a month or so. It was very quick. So I don't want to make this like a black and white thing, but I think it could be maybe something to consider generally practicing in this modern day and age, because there's so many communities that you don't want to just be dating around everybody there. You want to at least get to know them and like maybe finally get your pick after you meet all the people in the community, right? Instead of just trying to like shoot
But
blank.
I think I like the concept, but what does it look like in real life? How do you be friends with someone for that period of time? I mean,
You
I think
have
about
to
my
actually be engaged
That's a
with
long
community.
time.
well,
That's
I think
a
about
long
I think
time.
about
Well,
my
that's why I'm
brother,
not saying that's like
right?
a hard and fast rule.
So I've got 5 brothers, so I know like they all have their own different love lives, and then I've got 2 sisters. So just like learning how things happen for them of all different ages has been its own instruction, or like learning about the culture. But he was a student, you know, an undergrad student, and he was in a friend group, and he had a lot of friends, and he, you know, they were all close and hanging out, and then he would start dating different, like you were describing, he would go on some dates with some of the different women to just discern, is this the right together? Like, should we continue to get more serious here? Like, this is someone who's marriage material. Where is this going to go? And he did. There was a little bit of a reputation. He was like, why are you talking about me? I didn't give your name, okay? I have 5 of you, so it could be any of the brothers.
Any of the Rose boys.
20% chance that she's
There's
talking about you.
20% chance I'm talking about you. But that's good. But he, you know, there was a little bit of a ruffling of feathers, but he met and married his wife.
Amazing.
And they're so beautiful and happy.
It's
and
truly a case by case basis.
Yeah.
This is why I'm so promotive of having a spiritual counselor that you're consistent with, because then it's like he can apply, or he or she can apply this to whatever situation is.
Also too, and again, it's like, not to, obviously, because not everyone is a Christian or, you know, of that particular faith, but like, if we believe what we believe, right? We believe that there is a Holy Spirit that is indwell inside us, that guides us. There's this counselor. And again, you know, I just said earlier, I've been getting out there more and just like taking more steps, because I like to offer up. I think God will leverage as much as you're, like, you know, as much as you give to God, it's more to he'll work with, right? And so yeah, you can sit at home and just pray, God, and someone will knock on my door. It's generally not how most things work. And so
Grace
it's like,
builds upon nature.
you know,
Yeah.
but again, it's like for everyone. I have a great friend who went through like this book that I told you about, and she was like, yeah, like I felt the Holy Spirit say, I need to read this book and do what it says. And she went out there for 6 months, just like did a lot of casual dates. Just like one, you know, a meeting with someone, just not really being picky, just learning about herself, saying, God, what do you want me to learn from this process? Learn I thought I wanted this. I actually like this, right? I thought I had a type. Oh wait, but I had a type, but it was kind of rooted more in pathology. It was rooted more in like how I saw myself versus what I think God wanted for me. And then I realized like, oh, actually I can get feelings for someone who doesn't look a certain way or doesn't like have a certain build or certain personality type. And she's like, I met my husband, and she's like, and it was also interesting because she met her husband, and at first it was like, I'm not sure. And she typically was like fall hard and fast. And so, yeah, but it was the Holy Spirit guiding her all along. And then I have a good friend, right, who met and within 6 weeks was married, right? Now, interestingly to that
from
side,
this book?
not from this book, no,
okay,
just in
okay,
general, like saying, oh, like met someone, crazy connection, and they knew that they knew. And I do believe that. I absolutely believe, like, if the number one commandment is to like love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might and all your strength, right? If that's the number one thing, not love your neighbor, like love your God, then God is going to be deeply invested in who you decide to partner with on that. You know, we talked earlier about like, why do I have to date Christians? And, you know, I don't like to be a buzzkill with that, but it's more just a question like, do you think you can fulfill God's greatest commandment with someone who doesn't care about that? Like, probably not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm as much as I'm like, take action, and, you know, I do believe when you start taking steps, like the spirit world, just like the spirit realm, not to get too weird, but like when you start taking actions, like following and saying, God, no, I'm not just praying. I'm also like, I'm taking steps of faith. Like, I think heaven just watches and responds. And I have found personally just like that more doors, like when I decided to be more open and then started taking steps, I don't think it's coincidence that there's been more amazing opportunities, et cetera. And yeah, some of that is from the practical effect of doing that. But I just think God's going, yeah, all right, cool. Like, you want to like submit this sacred search to me, right? Then let's see what happens. And it is different for every single person.
I do. Yeah. I want to make it clear that like the aspect of God's providence, there could be a reason for why you haven't found someone for a while, even though you're doing like so many of the things correctly. Although I want to really be careful saying that, because I think a lot of people might have the temptation of, oh, well, I am doing everything correctly. Like, then where is he? Or where is she? Is like, hold on, are you really, you know, ask your spiritual counselor if you really are doing everything correctly. But anyways, the aspect of patience can be huge. That can be a huge sanctification for a lot of people. And remember, marriage is a privilege. It's not something that is guaranteed to us. We can have that longing, and I think that's very natural, of course. And that's that's good. But you should be able to be fulfilled completely by Christ, you know?
And also, Lila, I would say that there is a kind of societal understanding if somebody is dating with intention. So if you're dating with the intention of marriage, I think society, thank goodness, has a bit of a blueprint of how to do that. You date somebody intentionally. You start with, you're not dating exclusively, you're meeting a few different people, you're dating them intentionally, you're not sleeping with them, you're not, making out with everybody left and right, you're dating in a, if you're doing it so like, there's obviously in the world that we're living in, there's an understanding that, okay, you're dating a few people and then you make the decision to date exclusively, to be that person's boyfriend and girlfriend, to be boyfriend girlfriends. And that means you're only each other's person and you're dating intentionally each other. And then you discern marriage after that. So I don't think it's like, oh, whatever is going to happen. I see it's a very like clear, like this is kind of the way that society has agreed to go about this. Now, obviously with the secular world, a lot of times it's don't have sex until you're in an exclusive relationship. Whereas in the Christian world, we're like, don't have sex until you get married.
All the good advice from the secular world becomes perfected in the Christian world.
Yes, 100%. And that's why, anytime.
That's well said, Franco.
So
it's a good one.
Hold on, but she might disagree with this because secular advice says the best thing you can do is to get a coffee with someone.
Oh my God, I can't.
We gotta go into the debate. There was a big debate, guys. And
because the secular world says get a coffee.
All right.
I would
60
love
seconds,
to.
Ryan, then 60 seconds,
Wait,
Alessandra.
can you establish?
Yeah, what do we do? Yeah,
You're debating.
Well, actually, I want to ask because I was I will respond, but I would my premise is that I have had a great experience grabbing coffee. I enjoy coffee.
Well, real quick, for those that don't know the context here, so Alessandra and Ryan have a bit of a disagreement, and I'll give my thoughts as well, and Lila will give hers and Kim will give hers as well, but they have a bit of a disagreement on whether you should be dating multiple people at once. Now, that presupposes what the term dating means there, and what that all looks like, but go ahead.
Take it away, Ryan.
Well, first, I would say I enjoy coffee dates. I find a coffee, if you substitute the word coffee for date, I think for me personally, the word date would always get in my head and be like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to date intentionally and just find my wife. And so I would go in and be really overly analytical and then just reframing like, oh, I'm just going to grab a coffee. Our society also just practically is built on, we eat out, we grab coffees. Like it's a part of many people's day. It's also a casual way to get to know someone who may otherwise be intimidated by something. Like, I remember one time I used to be like, hey, let's go on a hike, right? And I love hiking and it's great and it's outdoors. But I was like, oh, if the other person, they're like, wait, what if I don't enjoy this? I'm stuck for like 3.5 hours on this like trek with this dude, And so I was like, oh, coffee is simple, it's quick, you need caffeine anyway. And I know that my illustrious colleague here disagrees with coffee as a way to get to meet someone casually. And I'm talking like a first or
But you're not saying you're like making out with this person or like.
No, I'm saying if someone's like, hey, would you like if one of her clients like, hey, would you like to grab a coffee with my clients? I would say, oh, of course, like a coffee. In fact, coffee, in my opinion, is actually less, I think less stressful on both parties. And again, I'm generalizing, right? It could be, there's somebody like, no, I want an intentional meal. I want to see his manners. I want to see if he knows what each silverware piece is used for correctly, like Pretty Woman. So anyways, but I'm curious, you reacted very
maybe
strongly.
it also depends how interested you are in the woman, because if you're very interested in the woman, like thankfully my husband was very interested in me. He's like, we're going opera. And then we did dinner first because opera wasn't for a few weeks. And then we did all the things. But if you're not really sure how interested you are, maybe coffee is
if you've never met them. And
if never met them.
And that's what I'm saying. Like if you don't know them at all, you maybe have like also a coffee shop practice. It's a public place, right? One thing that like I'm a 6'5", like 220 large male. I feel less concerned about my safety on dates, but I can imagine like it's freaky out. It's like scary out there, right? And so a nice public place, right? Non-committal. Also, tough times economically for a lot of people out there, right? And a guy buying a girl coffee.
Starbucks is kind of bougie. I'm not gonna lie.
No, well, first off, you're not taking her to Starbucks. The right man takes you to Blue Bottle or like something a little more.
I don't do this.
Single origin. Men,
buy a
ladies,
croissant?
don't settle
Does
for
it-
anything less than single
Does
origin.
it come with a scone?
I'll do it. We can do it. We can do it
All right,
now.
but let's
That's
talk-
the
you
best I
guys
can
like-
do.
What say you?
Well, the way also that it was presented is that that you had read this book, and then this person was like, date everybody and just stack so many coffee dates and just make them quick and casual. So that was where a lot of my visceral reaction came from, because I think that there is like, I think if you're dating a million people and you're not quantifying, you're dating, for everywhere from, and not just you, I'm not saying just you, but if you're not dating intentionally, like, right, I have a client right now who's finally single and she's amazing. And she met this great man, but he's Indian and practicing like Buddhism or something like that. She was like, but I was so attracted to him. We had such a great we had just such a great physical connection. And I was like, what is your goal? Like, are you dating with the intention of marriage? She's like, yes, of course, I'm dying to get married. I'm like, are you a practicing Christian woman? She's like, yes, I'm so practicing. I need to raise my kids Christian. I'm like,
Are you
okay,
praying to Buddha?
well then we're not going to go to dinner with this man. Easy, done. But all of that to say, so the way that back to the coffee situation. So I work with a lot of women that are dating with the intention of marriage, and I completely understand and respect everything that you just said. It makes sense. But a coffee date is akin to a professional interview. If a man also, women, the projection or the what a woman hears when a man invites her for a coffee date is, this is a low time investment. It's a low financial investment. I want to see if you look like your photos. I want to see if I think you're attractive. And it's basically like more of an audition versus, wow, like, I really see your value as a person. And I know this is not your intention, right? You are a good soul and a good man, but a woman that is dating and utilizing these dating apps. And and then a guy is like, oh yeah, I can fit you in for 30 minutes at 1:15 p.m., but I have a hard out at 2. Then it's like,
women
okay,
don't put hard outs. Women don't care if the guy looks like his picture.
Women do put hard outs if they don't want you.
Oh, absolutely. The emergency call.
I'm
Something
saying-
bad happened? I'm so sorry. I have to go.
But I'm saying, but I don't think that that's right. I would tell a woman that even if you're not attracted to the guy, the Lord puts people
Lie
in
to
our.
yourself.
No, but the Lord is putting this man in front of you for a reason. Enjoy, give each other a meal, break bread, enjoy. See, it's the experience. It's building.
Waste
a
his time.
So
They
Waste his
have
time.
sandwiches at Starbucks.
Would your recommendation be to single women to always take one dinner date minimum?
I would say,
even if
and
you're
it's
not attracted.
It's not even.
That's
It
what the
doesn't
book
have to
says.
be. It doesn't
Even if
have
you're
to
not
be
attracted.
Yeah, I do say, women, if you meet a guy and he has a lot of the qualities that you're looking for, but you're not like, oh, I don't want to rip his clothing off, then go on a date with him. I'm sorry, was that inappropriate? I'm so sorry.
That's more just the passion that you like.
I'm so sorry.
You're
I'm so sorry.
Are you
Was that-
Italian?
oh, no,
Because your
was that-
gesticulation is fantastic.
I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm very Italian. But
That was like the Hulk. That was
because
like
a lot of women, attraction can build, and that's beautiful. And if the man has these core qualities that you're looking for, like, oh, well, he's, all of this, then definitely accept a date. But it doesn't have to be dinner. It can literally be anything other than a quick coffee date. Because to women, I'm telling you, women that are marriage minded, that really are intentionally dating, the fact that they're even talking, even on an app, the fact that they're talking to you for longer and engaging in communication, not you, but like, I can't look at you, Ryan, but the fact that they're talking to a man a bit longer and their time is precious and women, when we get ready, imagine, I know how I am when I get ready.
Okay, I want to hear Kaylin.
Yeah,
Kaylin, what do you
right.
think about this?
Okay.
Right now?
Also, let me just clarify the position here, though. Okay, so what I'm saying is, right, when I talk about the coffee, right, it's basically if you've met or if someone's like, hey, I want to introduce you to someone, right? A coffee also is, and this is the thing I think that's missing from the beautiful and eloquent monologue you just gave. I think that it's also, you want to present an opportunity for them where they don't feel too invest in the sense of where it's like too scary. Because again, if you just met someone online, or if someone's like, hey, I want you to meet so-and-so, right? And you have no context, right? Say you were set up by someone, right? It's like, in many of my experiences, they have been like, oh, I'm grateful for a coffee because you're giving the girl an opportunity to be like, oh, I don't know, it's versus like, hey, I've never met you, but by the way, would you meet me at French Laundry and we're going to do like a 4-course meal?
Okay,
You know?
I've never in my entire life met a woman that has been so grateful for a coffee date. I've never.
Grateful,
But
meaning
maybe
like seeing the opportunity, meaning if they don't know the guy at all, right? And I just went on a coffee date, right? And we talked about it. And she was like, hey, she's like, I'm so, she's like,
because you showed up, Ryan. Like,
Fresh off the field.
no, when I say grateful, she said like, oh, I wouldn't have probably said like other things, like this felt low pressure, right? And it's like, oh,
yeah,
I feel
she maybe has an avoidant attachment style. You work on that,
See the
sweetie.
best-
I'm
see
sorry.
the
We
best
should talk
in
about attachment
Yeah, that's
styles.
also
All right,
what.
my point was
You're
that
scared.
the
Wrap a little
coffee date
bow
is
on
not
this.
a dinner. The
Somebody's
coffee date is just to
scared.
like get to, it's to offer
No.
someone an
Avoid it,
opportunity.
Kaylin.
You might not like my
Avoid it.
answer because I can see both sides, honestly. I can see both of your arguments. I think it depends on the person.
A good flick back.
And it depends, how much you like the person. I think I totally see what you're saying, but I mean, I have girlfriends who are happy to do the coffee date because they're not sure how they feel about the guy
For
either.
the first one.
For the first one, totally. And
Thank you.
I think that's totally fine.
Have you ever done a coffee date with a guy?
Yeah, I think that's
And how was
totally
it?
fine. I think that's like you're saying, it's a very low pressure way to get to know someone better. I do think that to her point, she said that a woman feels more valued. Like, I'm more valued because you are putting more effort into planning a nice date and to paying for a nice meal. And like you said, getting dressed up, like that does make a woman feel
And she's
more
gonna-
valued.
yeah.
And I do think that you should do that.
I think it really depends. Is the man really interested or is he maybe interested? If he's maybe interested, I think a coffee date can be more appropriate. If he's really interested, he should go for the dinner date. Why waste time with the coffee date, in my view? Go for the dinner date. And what do you have to lose? You have to lose that it doesn't work out. But if it does work out, it's a way better story. I mean, like, I'm grateful that my husband put it on the table and he was like, do you like the opera?
Let's go to a scandalous opera.
And then it was Carmen. It wasn't
Let's
supposed
go
to be
watch a
scandalous.
naked man
But,
on stage.
but our first date was actually dinner. And it was a lovely dinner. And I'll never forget it, right?
But someone else set it up, right?
No,
you're talking about the- not the bar, you're talking-
We
okay.
went. So what was set up was my brother setting up this group get together that
Okay.
my husband and I went to before we were married, and we hadn't met each other yet. But the opera was like 5 weeks out, so it's kind of funny because I'm like, you're making a date for like 6 weeks out. I'm going on another date. Like I'm dating other people as aren't you? But then we went to dinner, and then it was like coffee and brunch and hiking and all
And did
the
you
other
keep
things.
seeing other guys after that?
I did see other guys until we became exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just the impression that women get. I get everything you're saying. It makes logical sense. Everything you're saying. And that's why men understand the logic. And I get the logic of it all. But I'm saying the impression that a woman gets, if you are like, oh, want to grab a coffee, then it's the impression that a woman is getting if she is dating with intention. It's like, oh, he's dating a million people. He's
Wait, then what do you think of Lila's
slipping me in.
situation? She kept on going on dates with other guys after
Well,
her
no,
husband.
but that's fine because they're not
But
exclusive.
to be clear, I was
Confused.
ultimately the most interested in my husband, and it was I felt it was too premature
Yes.
to not date other people.
Yes.
Now, my husband didn't go on other dates with other women. He felt like I want to
a
just
king.
Yeah.
lay it down for this
What
woman,
a
which,
king.
and I'm grateful for that.
See,
So,
this is why I agree with you, but I also kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
Kind of like Kaylin, because I'm
Agree with
like,
everybody.
because like low key, like I feel like maybe this is insecurity, but I get so jealous so easily.
Oh, I
But-
love that.
but I wasn't
Franco.
like telling him I'm going on dates with other
Yeah.
guys.
I know. Well, that's very fair because like I feel
Yeah.
like if you, it's
And
kind of out of
it
respect
also
that
upped
you
the
know,
ante
like,
a little bit because
yeah.
it's like, does he want to make this exclusive? If
Yeah.
he wants to put himself
No,
out
this is
there
very
and make
true.
it exclusive,
This is very true.
Make an
then
offer.
then make an
Yeah.
offer I can't refuse.
This is very true. This is very
Five
true.
cows.
It's
It's a negotiation, guys. No, I'm just kidding.
But one thing I want to note though is
Yeah.
that, of course, I'm assuming you weren't making out with him, etc. Like,
Yeah.
I think I want to add
For
a
me,
caveat.
if you're
for-
kissing, it's exclusive. That's my view on it.
that's so true. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, very
And
true.
I don't believe in like heavy makeout sessions
because I
before
think
marriage
like with
anyways.
I think
That's
with some
another
people might have
topic.
red flags like when they think of dating, it's like, oh, the
If you're just going
the
around
very
kissing
worldly
multiple
sense of
people,
like,
I
oh, I'm
think
just kissing
that's
this
very
guy,
bad.
kissing this guy's like, okay, hold
Yeah.
on, okay, all right.
I would avoid it.
Can we also, because I know we like sparks and debates for the views, but it's like, because we talk about dating multiple people at once, right? So a lot of this context too comes from, so I read this book called it's actually a really cool story. So a couple weeks ago, it's relatively recent. It's like a month ago or so. I had two people on the same day independent, don't even know each other, call me and say, hey, have you ever read this book? We just finished it and it's awesome. And well, the first one is the woman I mentioned who met her husband after reading this book and trying it. And she's like, you need to read this book. And of course, I'm like, I need to read a book called like How to Find a Date Worth Keeping. This feels so like pedantic. It's like, just trust me, you're going to love it. You're actually going to appreciate it. And I was like, fine. And I was like, all right, if two people are telling me to read this book independent of each other, I was like, maybe that's a God incidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I read it, and actually I was like, wow, I'm actually surprisingly really enjoyed it. And there were just, some of it was kind of cheeky, right? So it's Dr. Henry Cloud. It's like How to Find a Date Worth Keeping. And he's a clinical psychologist and has a lot of data. He wrote a very famous book in Christian circles called Boundaries. But his premise was, he was the one who said, look, open up and say, are you like, look at your current trajectory. Like, do you think you're going to meet anyone if you are not, I'm paraphrasing mightily, but if you're not going out and putting yourself into new situations and meeting people, it's like, you're really going to have a tough time. That's the definition of insanity, right? And then the second part, he said, look, the problem is, he says, and he has a whole chapter for guys, like, hey, you do need to go start approaching. And he's like, stop dating for marriage. And at first, my conservative Christian, I was like, wait, what are you saying? He's like, I'm not at all saying you don't marry, like, you don't not marry a Christian. He's like, what I'm saying is, if you treat every date like the Super Bowl, right? And you're prone to overanalyzing, you are gonna, which is me, right? He's like, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. And so he's like, go out to meet someone. And he's like, yeah. And if they're not Christian, now I said, obviously be safe, be wise. He's talking about the context of like, use your judgment. But so if you go out and someone's not a Christian, he says, guess what? First off, they're not a fit for you, right? Long-term, if you're a Christian. But secondly, he's like, you share your faith with them, right? And he's like, and all these case studies, and there are people who met all these different people. And he said, and also there are people that you would probably write off, right? But if you commit to doing this thing, he also is like, hey, if someone is like a high quality person, you got to go more than one date. He's like, you might just caught someone on might have been a rough coffee session, so give him a, go to a meal or something. But
he's saying to date people who are not of your faith.
He's saying not out of your way, saying like, if you go out with someone, right?
Okay.
And he's like, or if someone's like, hey, I want you to go on this date. He does what I would say, he probably says in the book, go out and yes, you can go on a date with someone who's not a Christian, but knowing like, you're not trying to marry that person right now. You're just getting a date in for practice. Also, how can I serve this person? Just to get out there and also learn, because let's be honest, most people are not a fit, right? Most people are not a fit for you. So he's like, go out and meet people and then see like what happens. Like, oh, wow, actually, I thought I wanted this, but it turns out I really like this, right? But of course, he does very clear, you would never marry someone that you do not share that faith with. But in the beginning, he's like, if you're prone to overanalyzing and you're not getting out there at all right now, and you're just expecting everything to change, he's like, you got to get out there, start meeting people, and just be open. Like, put yourself out there.
Put in the repetitions.
Yes.
Or you can download Sacred Spark.
Yes, wonderful app.
And then everybody's already pre-qualified in terms of sharing the faith. But then you can get to meet people and have as many coffee dates or dinner dates.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I have testimonies from people who've read that book, and my friend did it, and she's like, it was tough because there's dates I did not like. I knew I walked in, I was like, no, like I'm not attracted. And then we talked for like 10 minutes and not a fit. But she's like, I learned so much by just saying, no, I'm going to focus. I'm going to get to know this person. I'm going to practice. I'm going to share my faith. And she's like, it was actually an incredibly rewarding experience.
You guys, I really don't like that strategy. I think the strategy for you, I'm sorry, Ryan, no. I love
This is
understand.
I'm trying to get ratings for Lila. Let's go.
Logically, I understand where you're coming from logically, but I do think that it's really important to understand your attachment style. And you had Attachment Adam on, who is probably the most incredible attachment therapist.
Attachment Adam, yes.
Oh my gosh.
He's amazing, yes.
Incredible.
Yes.
He can explain it. There's no way I can.
But it sounds like it's good for his attachment style because he's avoidant.
No. That is the worst strategy for avoidance. And I'm not talking to you, Ryan.
Doing?
It is the worst.
I don't know if you're avoidant, by the way. I'm just
wait. Define these attachment styles, because people might not know what you're talking about.
Avoidant attachment, there's anxious attachment, there's disorganized attachment, and there's secure attachment.
What do they all mean?
Okay, so
Ryan, like, I think you wins. I don't know that you're avoidant. I was just sort of
you might be anxious. I would love if you're anxious.
Define that.
I don't feel anxious during this conversation.
You're psychoanalyzing.
You have to define this.
And I'm not even talking just to Ryan, but I think I'm talking to people that if they have an avoidant attachment style, that means that they're essentially, they get very anxious when things get a little too intimate. So they keep everybody at arm's length, and they get very fearful of intimacy because it's at the core of it, it's fear of abandonment. So all of the attachment, the anxious, avoidant, the core wound is the abandonment wound. Okay. So
we all have attachment styles, right?
We all have attachment styles.
Like everyone is one of these things to some extent.
Everybody's one of these things to a certain extent.
It's a spectrum.
It's a spectrum.
Go follow Adam Lane Smith.
Yeah,
no
Adam,
more.
Attachment
love
Adam
that. He's
is-
Catholic
He's
too.
a great guy.
He's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh, incredible. And he'll explain this
He
so
also
much
watches
better
the
than
Franco
me.
TV.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he does.
Oh my gosh, like
And
I
he
know.
answers his
Him and his
files.
wife like content.
Oh, he's phenomenal. But it's so important for somebody that has an anxious attachment style. Your strategy would work just fine. So so avoidant, the arm's length. Anxious is hypervigilance. Is that those are the people that they tend to be very vigilant about receiving texts, and they always think something is wrong. They notice the most minor issue and then they freak out and rabbit hole. So
is
those are
totally me.
those are the
Can you be
anxious
both?
attachers.
I feel like I'm avoiding
yes,
and
disordered.
that's
anxious.
disorganized.
Yeah.
Yeah, disorganized attachment is anxious.
Or sorry, not
avoidant.
disorganized, like organized.
Yeah,
All right, we're gonna
disorganized.
cut this.
Anxious. No, but it's totally fine. But it's good to know disorganized is basically both of them, because even with avoidance,
I have the charism of both. I have the charism of disorganized attachment.
but even with a disorganized attacher, or if somebody is avoidant usually gets a really bad rap. But it's just, as long as somebody recognizes that, oh, I'm about to get a lot of anxiety if this person shows interest, if they're excited to see me, if they're, if we have, if we're reaching a different level of intimacy, obviously not physical intimacy, but emotional intimacy, that's when the alarm bells are going to start sounding
The avoiding
for the
attachment
avoidant
style.
attacher. And then that's why avoidant attachers tend to serial date. So that's why it's bad, not bad, but it's, if somebody wants to, the goal is to get to secure, okay? The goal is to act as if you are a secure attacher. So that's like the secret to all of it. So while you're dating, think, okay, I'm feeling anxious right now. What would a secure person do in this situation? So if you're waiting for a text and you're like, oh my gosh, it's been 5 minutes. They hate me. Oh my gosh, they hate me. It's over. Everything's done now. And then they have anxious, what people wouldn't know is that they have activation strategies of self-soothing. So then that anxious person might be like, you know what? I'm going to go on another date. I'm going to go on another date with another guy and see. So that's why it's really important to be very,
my gosh.
understand your attachment style at the core. There's an amazing
Need a
book.
minute, bro?
Franco's like, I've never felt
No.
so seen.
I know,
No, because
I know, I know.
literally, okay. So I'll say something personal here. When I was there's a girl that I'm interested in, and let's just
Currently?
say yes, and
Mm.
there was like
She sounds amazing. I know. What are the two? She has the two virtues, right?
she is phenomenal.
She's
Oh
so
my
filled with
gosh,
virtue.
She's amazing. But anyways, I want to make sure to give this person space, right? And there was a girl that was kind of popping back into my life who I was interested in a while back. And I knew, I was like, I have this temptation to just call this person, because we do get along. We have great chemistry. Like, it's like, this is, yeah. And I was like, oh man, this is really tempting. But I'm like, no, I know that I would be doing it just to like kind of, because I know, like, I know what I want, right? I know this,
Yeah.
I know what I'm interested in. And so I was like, I've already discerned this. I need to reject this.
You were activated.
Yeah.
So you
And
were
but
trying to
what you're
soothe-
saying,
were
like this
trying to
urge to just
self-soothe.
go on another date, I'm like,
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
But that's okay. That's very natural. And then it's learning self-soothing strategies that are not going on more and more dates.
Yeah.
Because then it's just shallow
Well, my
connections.
self-soothing is prayer.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Go to Jesus at adoration.
100%.
You're so boring.
The self-soothing, it's really
Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror.
yeah, it's do the daily readings, go to daily mass. Like, that's, thank God we're Catholics, because we have so many tools in our arsenal that are, like, psychology calls it self-soothing, but we know that this is how it's peace that surpasses anything else. So
Whatever, no.
yeah,
What would you say is the best trick of the devil? Like if we had to think what the devil was trying to think to try to get people to not be able to date and meet and marry their future spouse, what do you think they would be doing in the modern era right now?
I think it can be personal. I think the devil studies you and he knows your weaknesses. So relating to what you were just saying about attachment styles, I think the devil knows what to pick at and how to tempt you personally. But of course, as a culture, I think he causes distraction and confusion. Whether that is too many options, whether it's overthinking, whether it's fear of what
Huge.
commitment and that decision will require, or what it could turn into, going back to what you were saying, a fear of abandonment, or whatever your fear is, that personal experience. I think he gets in your head.
I love the fear aspect. I don't like fear. I don't like fear.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, fear stems, I mean, it's at the backbone at so many missed opportunities, I think, because I mean, it's very connected to pride in a way. It's like you're fearing what could be, you're fearing maybe taking the risk. Like that's not how you properly act in God's will. I mean, when you discern things, when you realize what is the correct direction and what is the answer, what is the solution to this life situation that I have, whatever it may be, you best discern it by what you're trying to run towards within God's plan, rather than by what you're trying to avoid and trying to run away from. So every path has obstacles. You're never going to get rid of obstacles. So if you're trying to figure something out based on the obstacles or based on what you're trying to avoid, you're not going to find a solution because you don't have a clear direction of like, okay, like this is what I'm trying to run towards. Now, given, sure, there can be clear like things that go against God's will, right? Then those are very valid obstacles, right? Because they're like clear sin. But it's like, oh, this person might be maybe their temperament is maybe just not meshing super well with mine, and then you just give up. It's like, well, hold on, like you guys can sanctify each other. There can be, if this person has a certain interest that you may not have the same interest in, it's like, well, hold on, maybe you guys could develop that or something. Like it's like, I think fear is at the basis of so many things. So a huge that I think the devil can be using that a lot towards a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think that the enemy attacks everyone in a very different way. I have one client who the enemy just consistently attacks her by sending her very attractive men that are just very
Suffering from success.
Yeah, what was that?
Suffering from success.
Yeah, suffering from success. No, but she's finally on an amazing path. She's dating the most incredible Christian man. And
Wait, what's wrong with
so
attractive men?
Well, attractive men that are completely, they're not
aligned with her values.
No, they're not
faith.
aligned with her values at all.
That's a
and
problem,
they're coming out of the woodworks. And one is, was prior to her getting into her now relationship. Literally, it was the day that she became exclusive with her now boyfriend. She got a text from this very attractive man that she had met in Dubai or something like that. And he was like, hey, let me fly you to Paris and da-da-da-da-da. So like the enemy though comes in those ways. This is not a practicing Christian man. Like this is a temptation from the enemy. And that's why it's having those guardrails. And I think for men, it comes in, and I think it can come in through female friendships and just other women that are around. So that's a big area that I see the most with men. And it can also come through, single friends, well-meaning single friends that they're like, oh, they want you to be single too. They want to be going out with you. So with some of our male clients, we have that issue. But yeah, temptation. And that's why boundaries and the guardrails so that you can sense that something.
I think that's such a good point. And I've experienced that personally. I remember when I was dating Joe, and then also I've seen it in other girlfriends' lives. And I'm sure it happens to guys too. I'd have to think about their experience, like my brothers as an example. But when you are dating someone that is like the quality and the person, you're like, you feel like this might be the one, right? The things to kind of get you off track. And I remember my spiritual director at the time reminded me the devil hates marriage. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want you to get married. Once we got engaged, my husband and I, we like this weird, crazy curveballs hit our way. And again, it was like that recommitment of like, is this something coming internally that we need to like figure out and deal with as a couple? Or is this something more external that, is trying to slow us down or give us kind of fear or, anxiety about even getting married? So there's all these different stages. But I think in the dating stage, that what you were saying earlier, there's so many options. The optionality is so endless and our standards are all over. And maybe we're dating someone who's wonderful and we do have feelings for, but we get distracted because of our own personal issues or temptations. And we're not actually locked in a way that this could be your future spouse.
Real quick, it's interesting. And I'll let you go, Ryan. Sorry, I just want to really address this real quick. But a friend told me the vocation crisis is real. But right now, it's not for the priesthood. It's not for like celibates, actually. Like if you look at the numbers, like we're actually doing kind of solid there. Like this is what he told me.
People becoming priests.
Yeah. The actual vocation crisis is in marriage.
Wow. And also
I
to your
agree.
point, Lila, that's why it's so important for both partners to be equally yoked. Because I had been personally in relationships with Christian men. And if you are both not equally yoked, you can be all boundaried up, all armored up. All right, enemy, come at me, bro. I got this. But if your partner is not equally yoked, if he is a man, a Christian man in just verbal, and I'm a Christian man, but not in the way that he's living his life, the enemy he's a vessel for the enemy, and he's going to get it. And so that's why it's so important in the dating process. I've learned the hard way to make sure that somebody is actually.
But what are the
equally
clear
yoked.
boundaries? Like if are they a practice, like you have to be a practicing Christian.
Yes,
And
practicing.
you don't expect they'll suddenly practice when you have kids or when you get married. They have to practice it now, and it has to be something that they do out of their own hearts, as opposed to I'm trying to impress someone or whatever it is.
100%, as opposed to exactly like, oh yeah, I'll go to church with you. Like, oh, it's fine. Like very lackadaisical, because that's where the.
There's a book called The Sacred Search, and I forget if it's Gary Chapman who wrote it. It's Gary something, but he has this criteria, and he says out of these 4 categories, when you meet someone, if they don't score an average of a 36, so 1 to 10 on each one of these, and if you don't have a 9 on each of these, then you drop them on average. And they are: 1, do they have friends of the same gender, right? So like warning sign, you'd be like, hey, if they have if it's a girl you're dating, it's just no female friends. He's like, that could be now. Could someone have moved, or are there extenuating circumstances? But like he's like, that would be if all her friends are just guys. That's something you're gonna have to like look into. But on the religious side, what you guys are talking about, which I thought was super interesting, is and then how are communication skills? How do they handle conflict? Right? Because he's like, the best couples fight, at least one day of the week. But the big one, he says, for discerning the Christian like character of someone, it's not do they go to church, right? It's not how many cool relics they have, right? It's not if they even know like a lot about the Bible. It's how's their prayer life. Because he says anyone can get up and go to church, anyone can get excited about God publicly, but what does someone do in the privacy of their own home, when the door's locked, when no one's looking, right? We know that's when God, that's like the measure of someone's walk with God, is what are we doing when no one's looking? And so I've always taken that, and it has been really fun, because it's just like, because if someone has a prayer life like that, that's how I know. For me.
Yeah.
Huge.
Daily readings. Are you doing your own Bible study? Yeah. I 100%. Are they also, for the women, I think I know this sounds crazy, but it was a very only 2 years old that I realized that watching porn is not a normal thing, or is something that but in a secular world, I just was like, oh yeah, of course. Every man watches porn. Yeah. Every guy watches porn. Like, why would that? And then it would be something for me of like, okay, I have to now have this really serious conversation with a man about waiting until marriage. And it was like this big thing of like, okay, I don't know. And a lot of guys do not want to do that, even if they're Christian by name. So I learned, though, once I started dating in a totally different way, that those are 2 major deal breakers. And there are a lot of men that have those deal breakers. And then you learn how attractive that those qualities of not watching porn, waiting before marriage, and being excited about that. So all that to say, yeah.
I think porn's, I forget the stat, but the average age of exposure is sometime around, I think it's like 8 or 9 years old now. But I would say if you really just go back to like what is actually happening, I think at a young age, I think our neural circuitry is being fried, and I think we're losing, I think that's a huge coup de grace of the enemy, is being able to like attack young minds and like permanently, or hopefully not permanently, but like cause substantive damage to our ability to discern and know what's attractive. And so I think it's a huge deal. I think porn, you cannot separate probably the lack of desired marriage with the early age of porn exposure. And then also I do think at a fundamental level, I think it's the cell phone, right? It's the, we had a exorcist and priest on the Exorcist Files recently who said like, this thing is the devil's portal. And he's like, look, I use it to talk to parishioners. I use it to talk, there's good things can come with this, right? But he's like, the end of the day is technology has robbed, and I throw myself in there too, but has robbed our ability to just sit and be bored so much and just be with God. Because in that boredom, that's when God speaks. The enemy has come into our lives, and we are just constantly infusing our minds and our ears with music that's inappropriate, with content that's inappropriate. We're just, if you think that content shapes us, right? And we're constantly on our phones. It's like, I think in a lot of ways, and again, talking to myself, we've robbed ourselves of the little sacred quiet spaces that the Holy Spirit would normally come in and speak to us. And that's a huge part because that cuts through all the clutter, that cuts through all the lies. Our culture is just sending, you said earlier, the culture is saying, do whatever you want, right? There's literally, we've taken care of every issue that could come with completely unmitigated like exploitation of whatever sexual urge we have, and say, don't worry about it, right? And the psychology is against that, right? And I think that's probably, there's just what lies are we believing that the culture is telling us, and that's probably the other one too. Is like, hey, kids are a burden, right? Or family, like family is an infringement on your freedom, right? Like that's the virtue like that our culture prays. Like you just need to be free to do you in any way, any shape, and the family is like a. So because I feel that, I mean, like as someone who has historically struggled with like, I've, for most of my career, I've been independent, my own like boss. And so having those like constraints on me can feel weird at times, especially when I've been in relationships and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to work on that. And I think for a culture that's like more and more independently employed, doing what they want to do, it's going to be harder and harder to like basically martyr yourself to someone else, right? That's going to, like, whereas it seems like,
as Father Ambrose says, Father Ambrose Chris says, you can't really live if you haven't committed to something. Like it's in commitment that you're able to fully live your life.
Oh, yes. And this is also why it's so beautiful right now that we have people like Lila at the forefront. And truly this new, I feel like it's this huge new wave of people making it like really cool and fabulous to have families and to get married and to have children, and that women are also learning that it's not fulfilling to just sleep with a million guys and the Sex and the City way. I mean, it's my favorite show, but I also watched it.
We're going to double click on that.
No, I know, but I watched it minus, when I was younger, I watched Sex and the City without any of the sex because it was on the WB.
So you watched In the City.
I just watched In the City. I just watched In the City.
Are you Mr. Big or Aiden?
I mean, I loved Big. But
Ryan knows about the show.
Oh, yes. But all that to say,
not of the world, but I'm in it.
Yeah, I think that though for women, I think it's so beautiful to see so many women waking up and being like, oh wait, no, casual sex. The society told me it was this incredible thing. I'm going to feel so empowered. But then it's like, oh no, this is not an empowering thing. You need therapy.
It's actually not empowering to get ran through.
Yeah, no, it's really not. But we women have been brainwashed into thinking that this is, oh yeah, I can do whatever I want, and then not even have to face the consequences because abortion is so easy and oh, it's no big deal. And then that's it. So it all trickles down. So,
Caitlin, what do you think?
Spit.
What Ryan said about having a prayer life is so key, because at the end of the day, our ultimate goal is getting to heaven, and the person you're with, you want them to help you in your journey to heaven and become holier. And sometimes when people get married, it gets harder. I mean, there's conflict. Life is hard. Things happen. And we always should be oriented towards heaven. As a Catholic, we believe actually there won't be marriage in heaven. We will be fully united with Christ. And yes, we should love, we should, live out our vocation. That is so important. We should be thinking about how can I serve? How can I love the other person? It's not all about me and what I can get out of the relationship. I think the only way to have that perspective is to check yourself and check in with God every single day and reorient your mind, especially if you are having a hard time finding someone and you're getting discouraged and you're losing hope. Like, I can't find a good guy that has my values. You can be in a really tough place. I have girlfriends that are in that place. And at the end of the day, I know it's easier said than done, but you have to remember, like, Christ is number one. And I'm not going to be fully fulfilled, even if I were to find an amazing man to be with. But
contemplation, I think specifically with prayer, not just saying stuff to God, but also trying to listen to what he's trying to say to you. That is huge, because I think a lot of people don't do that enough. It's just, you can't expect to have a good relationship with someone if you don't listen to them. So, and why would you not want to listen to the advice of the like literally the perfect counselor, the perfect therapist, the creator himself, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I want to really emphasize contemplation, like spending time with like,
Mm.
in silence and trying to, and this is not to say try to blank out any thought that maybe comes to you, because it could be that God's using your own imagination to speak to you. So, there can be more on that. I
Or
think
like you said, a spiritual director.
a spiritual director can help
Mm.
you with that. I think Lila had a good episode with this woman who talked about hearing God's voice. What was her name
Yeah,
again?
Jonna was great. What's
Jonna.
Schuster.
Jonna Schuster. Yeah,
Jonna
hearing
Schuster.
God's voice.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
great episode that like really helped me a lot actually. But yeah, hearing God's voice is huge.
Yeah. And also just, it's funny, and as an anecdote, in my church community, there were some people that like the prayer was like, hey, Lord, if I'm with the wrong person, like I trust, like make it known. I cannot tell you
Mm.
the number of people were just like, when they authentically prayed that. And again, I think God gives signs, and it's tough, right? Because I'm probably in the camp that there's not like one person for everyone, obviously. It's like, because then the whole system would get thrown off if one person messed up that order, right? But generally speaking, like there's probably a lot of great people that you can pick. But if you're with someone you like shouldn't be with, right? Just like, God, let me know. And man, the way supernaturally, and I use that word lightly, or don't use the word lightly. And it's crazy to see how God would just like, break people up.
What is
And,
it called, the prayer again? It's like a specific
Prayer of release or something like that.
Yeah, but there's a specific prayer that all the girlies pray on TikTok. And I don't even go on TikTok. I just get it on Reels.
You're so in the know.
I mean,
I mean, I think so long as you just ask him, please make it known to me, give me clarity if this is.
See what happens.
He's a
supposed to be.
father.
Yeah.
The thing is,
Yeah.
God is our father. He's never gonna like. Why would I give you a rock if you ask for bread? Like that, or a stone if you ask for bread? Like He's our father. He gives us what we need. So, and like you were saying earlier about the Holy Spirit, Ryan, like He's our counselor. He's with us always. So I hope that people listening, whether they already are married and they have someone that they love that they need to encourage, who's still single and hoping to be married, or they're not married yet and they're, hoping that direction, that they can, at the end of the day, come back to God's love for them and God's plan for them.
Yeah. And just
And
read
that's
1
the-
Corinthians
that's the
7.
core.
The married person will face so many troubles in this life, and I wish to spare you this. This is Apostle Paul.
I love that.
Let's do final words. And I was going to we can close with prayer actually, and
Yeah.
we'll pray for the people listening. So,
Amen.
okay, final words, final thoughts. Franco, do you want to kick us off?
Sure.
An action item. Who's this girl? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, what's
You're going to drive
what's your
7
next
hours.
step?
You can ask her to coffee.
I'm gonna keep this stuff private. Actually, what I would want to wrap up with is
Give the fans
That
what they
was
want.
that was
We want to
quite
know
the
what's going on.
shutdown he
People
gave
what
you,
they
Ryan.
want.
Give the people what they want,
Franco.
Franco. So, will there be action taken at some point?
Franco,
oh,
give us a
I've
breadcrumb.
taken plenty of action. Trust
First
me.
initial.
Oh.
As you can tell, I've quite wrapped a lot of the own personal responsibility throughout this entire episode. So I'm a firm believer of that, and I and I do seek to uphold to be a man of my word. So
You are.
I am
You are a man of your word.
positioned right now. Anyways, look, I mean, up to God. It's all up to God. But it's interesting because I feel like I feel like content where I am. Like I hear people talk about, I'm really longing to, I just want to get married so bad. And I'm like, I'm actually chilling. I love my life. And maybe I'm just because
24.
Yeah.
I am 24. That's
This
true.
is an age.
Sure. But I'm also a huge romantic. So
You're
I'm like, I
wait
get
till
really
you're
creative
28.
when
Will
it
you
comes
still
to
be
honey.
chilling?
Once you hit 30, things change.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'm speaking too richly right now.
No, it's okay because there's other 24.
There you are.
But
You
given-
just got out of high school. There's not a lot to know about. So I appreciate that.
But given, I do think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I am seeking to let Jesus fulfill me completely. And I'm not gonna lie, sure, like there is yearnings, but at the same time, like I am very content, I'm content with my life. And I have heard how like some people, like when they are content with their life, the person just like God just brings them that person. Again, not promising anything to anybody that's watching. Again, God maybe is wanting for you to have a Stephanie Gray Connor story or something. Like you never know. But if I had to say anything final, I would say that back to what my friend said about the vocation crisis, and his name is John Jerome. I love that guy. Shout out John Jerome. I love that guy. But
Shout out! I'll double shout that.
yeah. No, Lila likes John as well.
Yeah,
He's
a
great.
great guy.
But John Jerome, he was telling me, he was telling me this, that there is like, it seems like there is a vocation crisis for marriage. And he said, like, where are the priests going to come from? Like, we need priests. And I think the immediate thing that we might think of is like, oh, well, we'll just get priests if we just, have like more people that are more devout. It's like, yeah, but you also need more of a population. Like, you do need that as well. So I think if the devil's trying to stop people from becoming priests, he would also attack the sacrament of marriage as well. So I do think that, and maybe it could give some people scrupulosity as to whether or not they should be celibate, or whether there's some stuff like that. Again, take this to your spiritual counselor. I'm not your spiritual counselor, but act in hope, not fear. Act in joy, not fear. Act in Christ, and take into account where you can always seek to grow in imitation of him, of the incarnation of goodness itself. And I think that you will see your life truly will emulate him. And I think that can have an incredible butterfly effect that you might not have, that you can't even see right now.
Beautiful, Franco.
Thank you.
I will go. Yes, I mean, I guess my matchmaker's perspective, I've just found that there's this incredible book. It's 31 Prayers for Your Future Husband. And then they have a 31 Prayers for Your Future Wife. It is a Christian book. It is not a Catholic book, but it's okay. They're still prayers, which are
The two are
chef's
different.
kiss. Well, Christian, I get real for that.
Hey,
But
As
stop
long
it.
as it's a line, I mean, that's
Yeah.
fine.
She's
still on a journey,
Catholic
okay?
is
Yeah,
Christian.
Catholic is Christian. Catholic is
And
Christian. But
it's-
it's a very, but I am such a big believer in praying for your future husband and praying for your future wife. And I've seen also, after more than a decade of being a matchmaker, people praying for their spouses. And then when they meet and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been praying for you. So just keep that in mind, that like, if you're praying for your future husband, or if you're praying for your future wife, they're praying for you too. And I just think that that's so magical to think about. And I see it happen every single day as a matchmaker. So yeah, I mean, I'm praying for all the listeners and for all the panelists, for their future spouses and their future children and their future priests that will come from the children that they then have. Franco,
that is something I was scrupulous about before.
I
in the
will start that
past,
prayer
yeah.
now.
Well,
So
I
Megan
think I
Trainor,
might have been scrupulous about
Dear
that.
future husband.
Dear future husband, thank you.
You go next.
Okay. One, I appreciate this. I love these conversations. Actually, I teased you, Frank, but I would say I'm generally like, I'm really blessed. I'm super content, and I'm grateful for that. Like, I just got back from 6 weeks in Europe, and I was filming a show, and it was amazing. And it's like, I would encourage everyone, like, obviously I genuinely believe that God does not give us desires, generally speaking, so that they can be deferred and ultimately unfulfilled. I think it's a fair thing to say, God, if I have this deep desire to be married and to have a family, and God is a good God and he doesn't like to withhold things, right? It's like, great, then trust in that and hope in that, or say, God, take that, and I do believe one of two things happens. Usually it's that either gets fulfilled or he changes the desires of our heart, right? We said the Psalms say, draw near to the Lord and he will give us the desires of our hearts. And so, but if you're in this season of singleness, like, celebrate it. I mean, there are things that you can do, right? There are opportunities. You can start things. You can go places. You can risk your life in ways that others can't, when others demand. I mean, I joke about it, but it's like, Paul says in 1 Corinthians 7 several ways, right? Like, the married person's attention is divided on how to satisfy their spouse and God, but the single person can have their attention wholly and focused on God. So there is a unique blessing. Our religion and our faith is centered on a single celibate male that we follow. We have Apostle Paul, who is also probably married and then lost his wife, and so he knows what it's like. And so I'll say, if you're single and you're hurting or just feeling that way, just know, like, there's a lot of opportunities and hope, the things you can do. But also go after God, ask boldly. James says you have not because you ask not. And I think we can make a case, like, we just got to pray aggressively and knocking on heaven's door. And you quoted Luke 11 earlier, with who will God give a stone to if you ask for bread? And that first part of that verse is my favorite verse in all scripture. It says, the guy's locked in his room, I got his whole family, and a stranger comes at midnight, pounds on the door and says, yo, friend, I need some bread. I got a stranger in my house. He says, I can't get up and give you anything. And he says, but it is not because he's your friend. It's because of the shamelessness and the persistence of your asking that he will get up and give you all that you need. And so boldly, persistently,
I love
audaciously go after God, ask. And you never know. You never know what tomorrow could bring. So I'm excited for whatever happens. That goes for me too, preaching to myself as well.
Mm.
I want to say one thing that is very meaningful and helpful to me is looking at the married couples that are such beautiful examples. And I am inspired. I'm encouraged. Like your marriage, again, it's not just about you. It's not, it's about your spouse. It's about your children. It's also a witness to the world and the community around you. Like it's a ripple effect. And it is so powerful and so beautiful. So I just want to thank all the wonderful married couples out there. Thank you for your witness and your yes. So
Aw.
Let's close in prayer, guys. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing these beautiful souls here. Thank you for everybody who's listening, for just giving us life and giving us the opportunity to love you, to be loved by you. Thank you for making us for love. I pray that every single person listening right now feels your love, knows that they are loved in their hearts, and that they can lean on you and make an act of faith right now. Put faith in you, saying, Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I give my whole life to you. I surrender to you, and offer every concern, worry, anxiety, question, joy, every piece of our life. We radically offer it to you. And I pray that through our conversation and through this podcast, many people can, I pray, find people that they can marry. And I think Sacred Spark, big shout out. I'm putting them in the prayer right now because I do really believe in Sacred Spark. But also in the comment section here, if you're in the comment section, feel free to share your name. Maybe someone with the show could meet each other. But I just pray that fruitfulness comes from this show in terms of marriages and in terms of strengthened marriages. And I ask that be done because that's one of the whole purposes we're doing this show. So offer that to you, Lord. And I just offer every single person listening to you. And I ask together that we make this act of surrender and that you just pour down your graces and that you bring many fruitful marriages together and you strengthen the marriages that are already here.
Lord, just thank you. Your word says in Proverbs that a person's heart chooses the way, but the Lord directs the steps, and many are the plans of a person's heart, but the Lord's purpose prevails. So God, we just thank you that you're sovereign and you are good. And so it plays out how you want it. And so I just pray that would give some peace and measure. And just like Paul writes in Romans, right, that he works all things for the good. So every heartbreak, every misstep, if there's been affairs, if there's been divorces, if there's been just whatever the story is, whatever pain or whatever, Lord, you work all things for the good. And none of us are beyond your reach for love, redemption. And you do. You use everything for good. And so I just pray that for everyone here and for everyone watching, that whatever your story is, just trust that God would use it for good and just give it to him, and he will. So Lord, we just thank you, and we love you, Lord. Thank you that you are sovereign.
Lord, thank you so much for bringing us together and for really just anyone who's listening, specifically for the single girlies. I want to say a special prayer for you, my little angels. Know that if you have that desire in your heart, that the Lord will provide and he will be so worth the wait. And just know how loved and how adored you are, and you are made perfect in the image and likeness of God. And I just pray for you specifically, my girls, and also for all of the unborn babies. Just being here with Lila, I am reminded of a huge prayer in all of our hearts for the unborn. Yeah. In Jesus' name.
we love you, Lord. Thank you for Lila and her leadership and bringing us together. Thank you for Alessandra. Thank you for Ryan. Thank you for Franco. Help us to live out our vocations with courage, with hope, with joy. Amen.
Father, please continue to inspire good works within us. And please keep inspiring our faith so that we may be able to have those works flow from them. And please help us especially seek to hear for your word more. We want to know what you have to say to us. We want to know what you want to say to us. We love to hear you, Lord, and we love you. Amen. Pater noster, qui es in celi, sanctificetur nomen tuum, venia regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et debite nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, those DMs are blowing up now.
Yeah, right. And I was like,
Finding
oh
a
my
man who prays for you like
God.
that, right? Tell me I'm Christian without saying I'm Christian.
Catholic.
Tell I'm serious. Oh, yeah, well,
Holy Christian.
Thank you guys. You guys are the
Oh.
best. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Lila Rose Show. I hope you enjoyed it. I always do. Make sure that you're subscribed if you haven't hit that subscribe button already, and go over to our Patreon to support the mission of this show. That's patreon.com/Lila Rose Show. A huge thank you to our partner, EWTN, the largest religious broadcaster in the entire world. EWTN is reaching millions of people every single day with the beautiful truth of the gospel. You can watch new episodes of The Lila Rose Show 24 hours before they hit podcast app over at EWTN.com/on-demand.